The Tabung Haji Royal Commission of Inquiry reports dominated headlines today, drawing reactions from politicians across the divide. Among others, the report highlighted governance failures, political interference, and creative accounting as factors that contributed to the fund's financial crisis. Umno Youth Chief Dr Akmal Saleh has highlighted how the Tabung Haji Royal Commission of Inquiry does not identify any Umno leader as having misappropriated funds. In a Facebook post, Akmal questioned who the Umno politicians accused of having sakau or siphoned off the funds were. He said the RCI reports instead pointed to weaknesses in Tabung Haji's management, with internal action recommended against its officers. He argued that the real question was whether the losses were due to corruption or management failures by the administrative staff. He also questioned whether paying high dividends to depositors and providing substantial subsidies to Hajj pilgrims amounted to sakau. Akmal appeared to be following up on his challenge to Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim to prove his claims from last week that there had been theft in Tabung Haji, while also responding to other critics who claimed the RCI would be bad for UMNO. The RCI reports took center stage at Pakatan Harapan's campaign ceramah in Negeri Sembilan last night. Coalition leaders used its findings to push back against the BN Perikatan national narrative of Malay unity. Among them were Harapan Chairperson and Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, as well as Amanah President Muhammad Sabu, who urged voters, particularly Malays, to reject what they described as racial messaging by their rivals. In his speech, Muhammad pointed out that Malay and Chinese ministers had helped rescue the Islamic Fund after Harapan came to power in 2018.
Dalam laporan itu, baca nanti bagaimana penyelewengan dilakukan oleh orang Melayu terhadap mereka yang simpan dalam tabung haji. Bukan Cina yang menipu Melayu. Melayu! Ya, sekarang sedang disiarkan, tuan-tuan akan lihat bagaimana penipuan itu. Siapa yang menyelamatkan tabung haji? Bila dibuat RCI oleh zaman kerajaan Perdana Menteri Mahyudi Yassin, buat Royal Commission untuk Siasat, di antaranya terdedah dalam laporan itu, di antara yang menyelamatkan tabung haji itu ialah Menteri Agama kita, yaitu Mujahid Rawa, dan Menteri Keuangan yang menyelamatkan tabung haji itu ialah Lim Kuan Eng. Apa orang Melayu nak kata sekarang? Hei, semua kena baca. Ini mencina, DP jahat, Cina. Apa ni? Kita tahu mana-mana kaum melakukan kejahatan, kita tak sokong. Mana-mana kaum yang lakukan kebaikan, kita sokong.
The RCI reports released yesterday had identified serious governance failures, political interference, and questionable accounting practices that contributed to the pilgrimage fund's financial difficulties between 2014 and 2020. In its reports, the six-member commission chaired by former Chief Justice Raus Sharif said weaknesses in the Tabung Haji Act gave excessive powers to the minister in charge of religious affairs. This was particularly over appointments to the fund's board and senior management. It said the lack of clear qualification requirements allowed active politicians to become involved in the institution's management. The RCI recommended changing the law to bar active politicians from holding leadership positions in Tabung Haji or its subsidiaries. It also called for stricter selection criteria when appointing board members. The report found that some board members and senior executives held multiple positions across subsidiary companies. It said this created conflicts of interest and distracted them from their core responsibilities. The RCI also found Tabung Haji faced a serious financial crisis in 2017. It said the situation was worsened by what it described as creative accounting. According to reports, impairment losses, including 227.8 million ringgit involving subsidiaries, were not recognized in the accounts. This helped support high hibah payments between 2014 and 2017, while widening the gap between the fund's assets and liabilities. The Commission also recommended forensic audits into several investments and said disciplinary or legal action should be taken if wrongdoing is uncovered. Among the recommendations by the RCI was to recover 2.19 million ringgit in bonuses paid to selected directors and officers of TH Properties. This is as the payments did not follow the legal procedures required under the Companies Act. In its 252-page report released last night, the RCI said bonus payments made in 2017 and 2018 were approved without the necessary shareholder resolutions and approvals. The bonuses were awarded after Australian development projects included the Bay Pavilion were said to have generated strong returns for TH Properties. The RCI found that 1,148,400 ringgit was paid in 2017 and 1,045,000 ringgit in 2018 to several selected individuals. The payments went to 2 directors, 2 former directors, and 6 officers. It recommended that efforts be made to recover the bonuses that were given to those involved, as the said bonuses were granted without complying with the prescribed regulations. The Commission also examined bonus payments to Tabung Haji employees, which is said was very high. It found that between 2010 and 2017, it ranged from 2 to 13 months, including annual and special bonuses. The RCI said such payments were inappropriate given Tabung Haji's financial issues between 2014 and 2017, when its liabilities exceeded its assets, according to its annual financial statements. The report also noted that bonus payments from 2018 have been brought under tighter control based on Tabung Haji's financial capabilities. From now on, you can also listen to KiniNews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Scan the QR code on the screen to follow us. Meanwhile, Past Information Chief Ahmad Fadli Shari has welcomed the government's decision to release the Tabung Haji RCI report. However, he questioned the timing of its release. In a post on Facebook, he said the disclosure of the report was good, but asked why it was released now and not when the RCI was completed. Fadli insisted that the government had yet to explain the reason the report was kept under wraps all this while. This was despite Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim earlier stating that it was to allow Tabung Haji's recovery and management reforms to progress without undermining public confidence. He also questioned the government's decision to resume investigations based on the report. Fadli asked whether that meant possible wrongdoing had gone uninvestigated during the intervening period, and if so, why. He further questioned whether the government was withholding other reports or information from the public. Separately, Bersatu Deputy President Razzie Jidin called for sufficient time in Parliament to debate the report. He said Tabung Haji is a strategic institution that holds a special place among Muslims. Razzie also urged the government to explain how it will implement the remaining RCI recommendations and whether action has been taken against anyone found to have committed misconduct or broken the law. The Negeri Sembilan Palace has revoked 2 state titles awarded to former Menteri Besar Rais Yatim. The decision takes immediate effect. State Registrar of Orders Zafir Ibrahim said the Yang di-Pertuan Besar decreed the withdrawal of the Darjah Seri Utama title conferred on Rais in 2011. His Darjah Dato Setia Award conferred in 1979 was also revoked. Zafir said the decision was made to safeguard the dignity, honor and sanctity of the royal institution of Negeri Sembilan. The move follows a prolonged dispute involving the state's royal institution and customary rulers. Rais had attended the contested proclamation of Tunku Nazaruddin Tuanku Jaafar as the new Yang di-Pertuan Besar. After the ceremony, Rais said the constitutional requirements for the installation had been fulfilled. However, the state's comptroller of the royal household later said the ceremony was invalid and not recognized under the state's constitution, laws, or customs. Rais, a former Bersatu leader, is now the chairperson of Parti Wawasan Negara led by opposition leader Hamzah Zainuddin. And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to Kinitv.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Facebook for the latest news updates. I'm Camelia. Thanks for watching.